world continue to mourn the sudden loss of a basketball legend.
We'll look at the latest details surrounding the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant and how people are remembering him.
And reaction from a Dauphin County pilot on the helicopter crash that killed 9 people.
Plus, the president's defense team continuing arguments in the U.S. Senate, why there's more pressure to get a former Trump cabinet member to testify. Fox 43 News at 5 starts right now.
This is Fox 43 News, first at 4.
Sports fans around the world continue to mourn the death of basketball great Kobe Bryant after he, his daughter, and several others were killed in a helicopter crash in California. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Evan Forrester.
And I'm Jackie DeTore. Of course, Kobe Bryant is best known for his days in Los Angeles with the Lakers. Fox 43's Todd Sadowski is here to tell us about the legacy he leaves behind here in Pennsylvania.
A lot of great players have been on the basketball floor in Hershey, playing for a high school state championship. Kobe Bryant may be the best ever. The year was 1996. Bryant was a star player for Lower Merion High School outside of Philadelphia. He led his team to Chocolatetown for the PIAA championship game against Cathedral Prep. And there was a lot of buildup for that game leading up to it as Kobe Bryant led his team to Hershey that day. He didn't have a big scoring night, but handled all the extra attention from Cathedral Prep and still guided his team to a title, 48-43. Now, afterwards, he celebrated with his family, including his dad, who played in the NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers, Joe Bryant. And this would be his last game before turning pro in the NBA. We talked with local radio host and basketball announcer Gary Sutton, who was the color commentator for Kobe's final high school game in Hershey.
The buzz before the game is what I remember in the old Hershey Park Arena, and people talking about what he could do. He was averaging 31 points a game at that point in time. They had played everybody. There was talk about him going to the NBA. No one was quite sure yet. His dad was Joe Jelly Bean Bryant, who was a Sixers guy, and I was a Sixers fan. So, we got to see all those guys down there on the floor as we were getting ready for the game. So I remember the anticipation of what Kobe Bryant might do right there, and he had played very well during the playoffs to that point.
Here is the endearing image after the game. It's Kobe and his dad, Joe, embracing as they celebrate the state title. That game in his high school career is legendary stuff, and we continue our team coverage of Kobe's Pennsylvania legacy with Alex Cawley in Hershey.
The most points scored in a single NBA game by one individual, Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point performance here at Hershey Park Arena. Now, 81 points is the second most points scored in an NBA game. That goes to Kobe Bryant. A memorable moment in his life. Another memorable moment also happened here at Hershey Park Arena.
2:02 left, looking at Kobe Bryant.
During the game, he ended up going through the basket and coming towards us, and he was coming towards the basket where Victoria was at, and my wife and I jumped up to protect, and he kind of fell into Victoria a little bit. And so we always tell Victoria, hey, you got to meet Kobe Bryant at a young age.
But in a different league and at Susquehanna Township High School, a young Kobe Bryant once faced off with a young Rip Hamilton.
And I can honestly say that's probably one of the best high school competitions I've ever seen. Every time I went to see him or saw him, live, you would pick up something new.
For more on his PA playing days, here's Andrew Callista.
Thank you, Alex. There is no doubt that if you witness Kobe Bryant play, he influenced your basketball life in some form of fashion. But even if you were just growing up and even heard about how Kobe Bryant took to the floor night after night, there is no doubt that he left a lasting impression on the state of Pennsylvania in high school basketball.
Kobe Bryant.
The winter of 1996 was a magical run for Kobe. The best gyms and the biggest stages in the state. Fans or sports writers, Kobe dazzled them all.
The next round, which was the semifinals against Chester at the Palestra, which is one of the best places in the world to watch a basketball game. And Kobe took it apart by himself. And you could see not only athleticism, not only the quickness that it took to do that, but also vision, ball handling, passing ability, playmaking ability. I was so impressed with the skill level that night. That's when I knew it was really special.
His impact goes far beyond the main line in Philadelphia, with ripples across the entire PIAA.
Crescendo keeps coming and coming, and I think he excelled at that, but the other part of it was it built interest. And people sometimes want to see that player of a lifetime, and he certainly was that.
Soon after winning the state title, Kobe announced to the basketball world he was skipping college and taking his talents straight to the NBA. He was an all-star by his second year with the Lakers. And that state championship game is interesting because he was kind of held in check. It was a low-scoring game. He only scored 16 points. He averaged over 30 that season. So it's hard to say that people were disappointed. I mean, they won the game, and Cathedral Prep had a good team, threw everything they could at him. And yet, what is it, that Mamba mentality? Just win. Find a way to win. And even in high school, he was able to do that.
Hard to think it was that long ago.
Yeah.
He was playing at Hershey.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Todd.
And in the suburbs of Philadelphia, fans and mourners of Bryant set up a makeshift memorial outside of Bryant's high school in Montgomery County. People gathered last night at Lower Merion High School in Lower Merion Township to pay their respects outside of the Bryant Gymnasium. That gym was named after the late Laker, who holds the record for the best basketball player on the Lower Merion Aces with nearly 3,000 scoring points. Bryant went right to the NBA after graduating in 1996. A spokesperson for the Lower Merion School District says her kids who are overseas are getting condolences for the loss.
People all over the world have walked up to them and said, Lower Merion, Kobe Bryant. I mean, he is how we are identified around the world. So this is a difficult time for our community. Aces Nation has lost its heartbeat. The entire Lower Merion School District community sends its deepest condolences to the entire Bryant family.
The school district plans to focus on supporting people in their community, including his former coach and English teacher, who Bryant credited for sparking his love of writing. One referee at Lower Merion, Harvey Sumner, reflected on the star athlete.
The talent level was unreal. Like, people thought he was going to go right to college, but you could tell right then and there that he's going to the NBA. He had that much talent.
Bryant was born in Philadelphia in 1978.
Our team coverage continues as before Kobe Bryant was known around the world. He was a high school kid who was gunning for a state championship. And one of the teams that he went up against was Cedar Cliff High School in Cumberland County. Fox 43's Jamie Bittner tracked down the coach whose team had to compete against the future superstar back in 1996.
1996 was a huge year for Cedar Cliff basketball. They made it to the first round of the state championships, but it's there that they would face their biggest test against someone named Kobe Bryant.
Pass Donnelly. Bryant spins past Reed and lays it in.
You know, when I see those players that I coached, that's the first thing to mention. Remember when we played Kobe?
Cedar Cliff coach Pat Garr remembers Kobe Bryant before he was the Mamba.
And there were a lot of people outside that couldn't get in. And it was a very exciting game.
Back when Bryant was a high school kid who gave Cedar Cliff High School a huge challenge in the playoff race for the 1996 state championship.
They threw a backside lob to him, and it was behind him, and he caught it with his left hand back here and stuffed it.
A dunk heard around Pennsylvania that was even talked about in a Scholastic book later written about Bryant.
And they called it the dunk, and they talked about his dunk in the playoffs.
Garr never got to talk to Kobe after that game.
He was surrounded by media.
But Bryant and his Lower Merion team would go on to win the state championship that year.
Have to give and go. Bryant all the way. Oh, goodness, with two hands with authority.
He did everything. That's why he was good. And, you know, his team was pretty good, but they would have been pretty average if without him.
A player Garr knew even back then was going to make his mark on the game.
My players have a memory, and I have a memory, you know, for the rest of their lives.
And you can hear more of that coach's memories of that game. I've posted raw clips on Fox43.com. In Lower Allen Township, Cumberland County, Jamie Bittner, Fox 43 News.
And fans of the late basketball legend around the state reacting to Bryant's death. The coach of Misericordia University's basketball team in northeastern Pennsylvania remembers the year he played for the Scranton Knights when he and his team lost to Bryant in the Lower Merion Aces in '96.
I was excited. I was 15 years old, and I didn't know any better. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go shut this guy down. I don't care who he was, and that's what it was. We're all excited. Our whole team was excited to play Lower Merion. Win or lose, we got to the second round of states, and we got to play the best player in the country. He was a killer on the court, and that's what I try to teach my guys to this day now, coaching, and that's how I wanted to play.
As we mentioned, that was the same year that Bryant led the Lower Merion Aces to win the PIAA state championship. And fans on the West Coast paying respects to Bryant. Mourners set up a memorial at the site where the helicopter went down in Calabasas, California. It is about 30 miles northeast of LA. 9 people in total, including Bryant's daughter, Gianna, died in the crash while heading to a basketball game. Officials say heavy fog is likely a contributor to the crash, though it does remain under investigation.
A local pilot is sharing how that helicopter crash is impacting some in the aviation community. Fox 43's Grace Griffithson joins us now outside of Penn State Health in Derry Township, Dauphin County, where she spoke with the chief pilot for Lifeline.
Penn State Health has the largest medical helicopter in the state of Pennsylvania. We saw it land here today. On average, their helicopters transport patients 3 times each and every day. Even when devastation happens in the aviation community, the chief pilot says they have to do their job. No matter what happens in the aviation community, pilots for Penn State Health's Lifeline fleet have a very important job to do.
After flying for so many years, there's been a lot of incidents that have happened on the ground, in the air. You never want to hear about that or see that. However, we've learned to compartmentalize what we do and fly the aircraft. We fly, and that's what we do. That's our job.
Philip Perez is chief pilot.
This is the EC-155 helicopter.
Meaning he's in charge of all the other pilots, who must have at least 10 years experience flying helicopters before they can fly one of Lifeline's.
I'm pushing close to 10,000 hours in a helicopter. That's a lot. That's like sitting in the seat for about 15 months.
He's also flown for the United States Marine Corps and Maryland State Police, 35 years and counting.
On this side, the helicopter pilots, you can have 2 pilots. We only operate with 1 pilot.
All in all, he believes helicopters are a very reliable mode of transportation.
I equate it to some of the people that come in the aircraft to sitting in an elevator while you're lifting up or stopping. You feel a little bit of a jolt, but otherwise it's very safe and it's very comfortable.
Lifeline helicopters also have a lot of added safety features on board.
This helicopter is extremely reliable and safe. With this large tail rotor, it acts like a wing. If we lose power to the tail rotor, it will continue flying. We can fly the helicopter to an airport.
Their helicopters also have 2 engines in case one fails, and are equipped with wheels, so the helicopters can land like an airplane. As officials investigate what caused the helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others to crash, Perez wants to share his condolences for everyone impacted.
You always wonder what might have happened, and I feel bad for all the families that have to endure all the difficulties of losing a loved one. And they'll have questions for a long time.
Right now, Lifeline has 2 helicopters which can transport patients. The 3rd is being worked on as we speak. In Derry Township, Dauphin County, I'm Grace Griffithson, Fox 43 News.
Thanks, Grace. And ahead of 5:30, we'll hear from a York County native, a sports reporter who covered Bryant and the Lakers for several years. You can expect more stories remembering the late basketball legend on our website, fox43.com, or on our mobile app.
The eastbound lanes of Route 30 in Lancaster County open once again after a crash shut them down this morning. SUV got onto the Route 30 ramp on East Lampeter Township and then drove the wrong way. The driver crashed head-on into another vehicle in Manheim Township around 8 a.m. Police say multiple crashes were reported in the same area as that first one. 2 people were taken to the hospital. Their injuries, were told, are not serious. The eastbound lanes opened shortly before 11 a.m. Manheim Township Police, though, still investigating what happened.
It has been a year since a man's body was found along Interstate 81 in Dauphin County. Police still don't know who killed him. The body of Tyrone Shaw was found in his SUV along I-81 in West Hanover Township. State police say he was shot once in the head shortly after his SUV stopped working. And witnesses say they saw another vehicle behind his when he was killed. Troopers say Shaw was visiting Harrisburg from New Jersey before he was killed, and they're still investigating. There is a $5,000 cash reward for any information that leads to an arrest.
Fire destroys a home in Dauphin County this morning. Firefighters got to the house on Custer Drive in Susquehanna Township around 1:15 a.m. Nobody was living on the property. The fire chief called the house a total loss with about $500,000 worth of damage. One firefighter was treated and released from an area hospital with minor injuries. The cause of the fire does remain under investigation. At the state capitol for workplace protections for the LGBTQ community today, the group Pennsylvania Values Coalition organized the event. It's calling on the state legislature to pass bills to create non-discrimination policies. The group wants people to be able to work without fear of being fired for their sexual preference or gender identity. Advocates say the new legislation would update Pennsylvania law to change that.
Dignity and respect should never depend on who you are or who you love or what zip code you live in. But in Pennsylvania, it does. LGBT non-discrimination legislation will update the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act to protect LGBT people from discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations. And let's get this done.
Rally organizers say hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians in the LGBTQ community are at risk of discrimination each day because of a lack of proper workplace protections. What are the risks to being openly gay in the Commonwealth? Fox 43's Braden Long took a look at the subject in Fox 43's LGBTQ in PA series. You can see those stories on our website, fox43.com. Also at the Capitol in Harrisburg, people can see what life is like in solitary confinement. A replica of a solitary confinement cell is set up in the Capitol until Thursday. Dubbed A Moment in Solitary, the display was put up as state lawmakers plan to introduce a bill that would ban solitary confinement for vulnerable populations like the elderly, LGBTQ, and mentally ill people, among others. Organizers say solitary confinement can have a detrimental impact on someone's mental health, and they say it's even worse for people who spend the majority, if not all, of their prison term in solitary because of how it affects their transition once they're done.
If you look at the state recidivism rate, people who get rearrested within 3 years, that's 65%. And I think the people in solitary have an even harder time adjusting. Let's keep in mind that there are 350 men and women that go directly from solitary to the streets each year. And you can imagine the ramifications of that.
The bills also include provisions to cap the amount of time anyone could be placed in solitary confinement to 15 days max.
The man accused of throwing a Molotov cocktail into the Adams County Courthouse has been indicted by a federal grand jury. A U.S. attorney announced Samson Yo was charged with malicious attempt to destroy a building by fire and possession of an unregistered firearm for the incident back in December. Security video shows someone, who police say is Yo, throwing the Molotov cocktail at the courthouse in Gettysburg on the night of December 22nd. Yo is also facing multiple assault charges after a sheriff's deputy says he assaulted him on January 8th, in addition to an arson charge.
Federal investigators providing a little better idea of what caused a massive and deadly pileup on the Pennsylvania Turnpike last month. The National Transportation Safety Board's releasing of a preliminary report on the crash in Westmoreland County shows a charter bus operated by Z&D Tour Incorporated was heading west on the turnpike when it went down a small slope, crossed the lanes of traffic. The right shoulder hit a steep hill and then rolled onto its side. That caused a chain reaction of crashes involving 2 UPS trucks, a FedEx tractor trailer, and a car. The bus driver and 2 passengers were killed, as were the driver and a co-driver of one of the UPS trucks. More than 60 other people, including 59 bus passengers, were hurt.
Seven Democratic presidential candidates are getting ready to head into a debate tonight as the results from the Iowa caucus are finally in. Pete Buttigieg barely beat out Senator Bernie Sanders by 2 votes. So the South Bend mayor will get 13 delegates and the Vermont senator will get 12. Senator Elizabeth Warren got 18% of the vote, and now she will get 8 delegates. And former Vice President Joe Biden got nearly 16% of the vote, and he ends up with 6 delegates. And we may have to hear the last out of Iowa. The chairman of the Democratic National Committee is now calling for a recanvassing of the results in precincts with reporting problems.
What happened in Iowa was unacceptable. I want to make sure that every Iowa voter knows that their vote was counted, and I want to make sure every voter across this country knows that their vote was counted and that we take our commitment to accuracy very seriously.
The official count reported by the Iowa Democratic Party had some errors because of a glitch in a smartphone app. And now the Democratic contenders are focused on the next primary election in New Hampshire. The latest poll shows Pete Buttigieg and Senator Bernie Sanders in the lead. Fox's Alina Shirazi explains what issues they're taking aim at.
From California to Italy to Japan and China and back, the coronavirus is quickly spreading. Nearly 4,000 people, including more than 400 Americans, are being quarantined on a cruise ship in Japan where 20 cases have been confirmed so far. It's possible more passengers could have it. Officials have told those passengers they may have to stay put on the ship for at least 2 weeks. And the 12th case of the coronavirus in the U.S. was confirmed in Wisconsin yesterday, with dozens of other potential cases being screened all over the country. Airlines are canceling flights to and from China, Hong Kong, and other countries in Asia as the number of cases worldwide nears 30,000. Fox's Jonathan Seri explains how the rest of the world is taking action.
A Pennsylvania family is under quarantine at a hospital in California after going on a trip to China. Frank Winiski and his daughter Annabelle flew into the San Diego region this week from Wuhan. That is the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. And now they're being kept in isolation. Back in China, his wife is caring for her bedridden father who has the coronavirus. The couple decided Frank needed to go with his daughter back to the States to protect her health while his wife stayed in China. Now, Frank and Annabelle are waiting for results from the CDC before they can be released.
And if the dad were to get sick and his test was positive, we'd be sending him over to UCSD Medical Center.
Once they're out of quarantine, the two are worried about getting a flight back to the Commonwealth. Frank says they still don't have their luggage, and the hospital gave Annabelle the clothes that she has now. More than 600 people worldwide have now died from the Wuhan coronavirus. The outbreak started only a few weeks ago and has since infected thousands of people, with at least a dozen cases here in the U.S. Now a Royal Caribbean cruise ship docked in New Jersey is staying put while the CDC tests passengers for the virus. Fox's Jonathan Seri has the latest. And while health officials at all levels of government are concerned about the outbreak, Pennsylvania leaders say there's currently nothing to worry about here. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Keeney grabbed a bite to eat in the city's Chinatown as businesses there are taking a dive. Concerns over Chinese Americans returning from China are driving customers away from restaurants and other shops there. The Pennsylvania Department of Health says no racial or ethnic group is more likely to have the coronavirus than the next. There are no confirmed cases in Pennsylvania, according to Health Secretary Dr. Rachel Levine. She does say anyone who has arrived from China in the past 14 days should stay home and self-monitor for symptoms for 2 weeks. Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster County has 16 students that fall into that category. The Campus Wellness Center is helping them with temporary isolation, and most of that will be done with that happening on Sunday. And you can expect more developments on the coronavirus outbreak in Pennsylvania and around the world. Just make sure to download the all-new Fox 43 News app so you can sign up for breaking news updates on the coronavirus, or you can head to our website, fox43.com.
After weeks of arguments and debate, the U.S. Senate has acquitted President Trump on both articles of impeachment.
We'll find out who voted to convict and who voted to acquit the president and what happens next.
Vice President Mike Pence making his way to Cumberland County for a women's rally. I'll tell you what a polling expert says we can expect to hear in his speech coming up.
First at 4, could some college students attending a state-owned university catch a break? And we're not talking about schoolwork. We'll tell you what's in the governor's budget proposal that could help ease student debt and how it would be paid for.
And the president speaks publicly for the first time since he was acquitted on both articles of impeachment. Find out who the president and his allies are taking aim at.
And clouds continue to hang overhead as yet another round of rain showers begins to move in. I'll let you know when you can look forward to some dry time coming up.
An iconic staple of the golden age of Hollywood has died, leaving behind a virtually unmatched legacy.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the life of Kirk Douglas.
Hunters are out on this land looking for coyotes when someone makes them a target. Now, why the Game Commission needs your help to find the person who opened fire.
Tonight at 10, the law enforcement that go where others can't. An exclusive look at CERT teams across Pennsylvania, the life-saving training and special equipment. You can expect more tonight on Fox 43 News at 10.
People have tested positive for the coronavirus is nearing 30,000. Find out what health officials are doing to contain the outbreak here in the U.S. And an 8-year-old girl survives being run over by a tractor. We'll tell you what the Cumberland County second grader is asking for while she recovers. That's just ahead. Utah families when some rabbit hunters disappeared.
When we come back, we'll find out how they got lost and where they turned up to their loved ones' relief.
Your social security number, your birth date, your address, the government has it all, but how are they protecting it? Why some lawmakers say they need to do more.
And join us for a weekly Ask. Hundreds of American passengers returning from China are quarantined as more cases of the coronavirus are confirmed around the world and here in the U.S. Plus, the president delivered his third State of the Union address last night, and there are claims that need a deeper explanation. We'll verify the facts in President Trump's speech when Fox 43 News at 5 returns. First at 4, Governor Tom Wolf proposing his 2020-21 state budget. We'll take a look at the changes to education and why the overall budget proposal is more than $2 billion more than last year's.
And it was chaos on caucus night thanks to a technical glitch in an app used by the Iowa Democratic Party. Find out what officials are doing now to fix it and when the results could come out.
A cold front pushing through tonight brings more rain and shifts our winds, causing temperatures to drop. A look at how much they fall and why the brief chill doesn't last too long.